So, Sangya, thanks for coming on the call and sharing your hour with us to do this interview. Really appreciative of your time. We actually want to hear about your background as a business analyst, as an entrepreneur. So, can you share about your story?
Sure. So a lot of my professional experience or my career so far has been in banking and primarily on the technology side of things. So I started out as a business analyst and slowly moved into overseeing projects a little bit more. So I was a lead analyst at my previous role at the bank. And all of that kind of meshed in with oversight from an entrepreneurial perspective with the company that I kind of helped launch with some colleagues. And so I think I can speak to the very nitty-gritty of what building a product or technology involves, along with what it means to also work with businesses, business lines to get product to market or attempt to try to, validate a product essentially.
Yeah. And also from your academic background, how did you get into a business analysis world?
Mm-hmm. So I don't have any academic background in technology or business analysis or finance or anything like that are pretty typical of somebody who I think pursues a path that I kind of landed in. Mm-hmm. A lot of what I learned and what I did was as I went, and I learned on my own. And my academic background is a little bit more in economics and anthropology, which is it's pretty atypical in the business world or in the banking sector. So that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. So with BNI Mellon, can you kind of talk to us about how did you end up being a business analyst there, and what did you do? And then also, like now you're a lead business analyst there. So if you can speak to your experience there.
If you can't hear me, it's because I'm trying to fight a cold. But my way into banking, I think I kind of fell into banking. Honestly, it wasn't anything that was pre-planned. And I think that's a fortunate position to be in sometimes, depending on what you want. I would say that, as a BA, I worked more closely with business lines when I started out, and that allowed me to ease my way into, the technology side of things as my interests evolved into doing more technology-oriented or product-oriented work, which is where I ended up in my last role. And in terms of preparing myself for a business analyst role before I even got in, I don't think there was as much preparation other than just speaking to, some of my past experiences, just being in projects and, being able to actually critically analyze where we are and where we want to go and kind of clear the path forward for that. Other than that, it wasn't any heavy technical skills that in my mind, that I thought I brought. Maybe other people thought, I don't know. But speaking about the business analyst role specifically, a lot of it involves, changing things. A lot of it is change management in all sense of the word. So there's a lot of processes and systems in a lot of old corporations or just companies in general that are required to keep the business running. And your job as a business analyst is to come in, take a look at if that's, as optimal as it can be. And that can span a wide variety of, sectors, industries, focus areas, right? So I'm talking very high level. Identify any gaps that there might be, and then be able to either create a solution towards it, mm-hmm. towards what that, or at least try to get buy-in from your higher managers and, senior stakeholders into what that solution could look like, and either go out and try to, build it yourself, or try to figure out a way to convene people in the right manner to achieve that goal. And it's really end to end like that. And because I got to see that perspective, I think from a very end-to-end level, I was able to start doing more of the overseeing work, because it was so, it wasn't just one task, right? It was trying to present to senior managers and try to get their buy-in and figure out who the right people are that I need to talk to or connect with and actually deliver a solution at the end of the day, or at least try to map out a solution at the end of the day. And that very naturally, I think, leads itself towards more managerial tasks, if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah. So just to kind of zoom into your week, what are some of the activities you do as a business analyst in a week? In a day-to-day, it might be different, but in a week, what are some concrete things, meetings, things that you're doing?
Yeah, so there's a lot of meetings. Obviously, I think that, right? Like anyone who's working right now knows that, and that's just the truth of how things are. A lot of it is around aligning your team that you're a part of in making sure that we're still progressing and we're still trying to achieve the same thing. So I'll speak to my BA stuff, and then I'll talk to the lead stuff afterwards. So solely as a BA, I would essentially just either be, if I didn't have, something that I was assigned to, then I would be trying to find, I would just be digging into all the various processes that my team was involved in and try to figure out gaps. And see what would be interesting for me to get into, or that I would be, challenging enough for me to get into. If I wasn't doing that, then I was on a project, and I would split my day like that. It was either like trying to think of the future and trying to figure out what projects I would want to be on. And then maybe the rest of the day, it would be actually working on the stuff that I was assigned to, for example. And a lot of it in the beginning involves mapping out what the current process looks like. So it's called mapping the current state. And you can do that in many sorts of ways. You can do that through process maps, for example, flow diagrams. And that part is pretty crucial to help you understand, where exactly the gaps are. Oftentimes you can take it as slowly or as fast as you would like. I tend to be very thorough with those things, because that's really the foundation on which your project is going to rely on, right? Because your job is to kind of innovate that and kind of break that a little bit and try to piece it back together. So, for me, mapping out flows, for example, would involve talking to many people that, relied on our business, for example, upstream, downstream, all sorts of stuff. You don't have to do that, but it depends on what you want to get out of the project. So I would do that, and then essentially try to either have the right conversations with either the managers, if that was necessary, or some of the processors in our team, to try to align in terms of what the optimal future would look like, and just start kind of mapping that out. And then kind of drawing, figuring out where we are today, where we want to go, and connect the dots in between, right? And connecting the dots could either be through technology, if you have the skill sets yourself, if you're very technical as a person, you can start building it. Or it would be, I would try to find the people who would have the skill sets that I didn't have, for example, right? And I would go out and try to seek those people out. So my days would generally be broken out like that. I'm trying to think. And in trying to analyze, where we are, and trying to project out into the future where we could be, it involves a lot of just analysis in general. As your role suggests, right? You're there to offer the technical, pattern recognition, analytical skill sets that your team doesn't have. And, anywhere from making sure that you're good at Excel, for example, right? Making sure that you're good with, just graphs and data. A lot of my work involved crunching numbers, very try to find patterns out of just chaos and unstructured data, for example, and take those patterns and try to take it to a solution, essentially.
Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. We will sure to come back with more exciting videos on Agile topics.